It was a bright, sunny afternoon in Oakwood Hills. The sky was blue, the birds were singing, and everything looked calm and happy. You'd think nothing exciting or crazy could happen on a day like that. That's what I thought, too. My name is Jake, and I'm the guy telling you this story. I had just moved into this super nice neighborhood with my little dog, Max. Max is small, fluffy, and loves to run around. I also brought something else with me, a shiny new smart alarm system. It's this cool gadget that makes a loud noise if someone tries to mess with my house. I thought it would keep everything safe and easy. Boy, was I wrong about that. Let me tell you about where I live. Oakwood Hills is one of those places that looks perfect, like something you'd see in a picture book. The houses are all neat and pretty, with green grass and colorful flowers. The streets are clean and everyone seems to smile a lot. At least, that's what I thought when I first got here. I was excited to start fresh in this new place. I had my little house, my dog, and my cool alarm. I figured life would be simple and fun, but then I met Karen. Oh, Karen. She lived right across the street from me, and she was not like the happy people I expected. Karen was, well, she was that Karen, you know the type. She was the boss of the neighborhood, or at least she acted like it. She called herself the queen of the HOA. The HOA is this group that makes rules for everyone who lives here, like what color your house can be or how tall your grass can grow. Karen loved those rules. She carried around a big clipboard all the time, writing stuff down and checking on people. Her eyes were sharp, and when she looked at you, it felt like she could stare right through you. Her glare was so strong, I bet it could melt steel. She didn't just look mean, she acted mean too, especially to me. From the very first day I moved in, Karen didn't like me, not one bit. I don't know why, but she decided I was trouble the second she saw me. Maybe it was because I'm young. I'm not old like some of the other people here. I'm just a guy in my 20s trying to live my life. Or maybe it was because she thought I was too loud. I mean, I like to play music sometimes and Max barks when he's excited, but it's not that loud. Or maybe she just didn't like my face. Who knows? To her, I was too young, too loud, too everything. She'd stand on her porch, arms crossed, watching me like I was some kind of bad guy. It made me feel small, like I didn't belong. But here's the funny part. Karen had no idea who she was really dealing with. She thought I was just some kid she could boss around. She didn't know I had a few tricks up my sleeve. See, I'm not the type to start fights or get mad easily. I like to stay calm and figure things out. And that smart alarm I told you about, it wasn't just there to make noise. It had some secrets of its own, secrets that would turn this whole story upside down. Karen thought she was in charge, but she was about to find out she picked the wrong neighbor to mess with. Let me set the scene for you a little more so you can picture it. My house is small but cozy. It's got a red door, white walls, and a little porch where I like to sit with Max. Max is my best buddy. He's a tiny dog with big ears and a wagging tail. He's not the kind of dog who scares anyone, but he's full of energy. Across the street, Karen's house is bigger. It's got perfect flowers in the yard and a sign that says HOA President by her door. She's always out there walking around like she owns the whole neighborhood. Her hair is short and neat, and she wears these big sunglasses that make her look extra serious. Every time I'd step outside, I'd see her watching me. It was creepy. The first time we talked wasn't fun. I was unloading boxes from my truck, trying to get settled in. Max was sniffing around the yard, happy as can be. Karen marched over, her clipboard in hand, and said, "You're new here, huh?" I smiled and said, "Yep, just moved in, I'm Jake." I thought she'd say something nice like welcome, but nope. She frowned and said, "Well, keep that dog quiet, we don't like noise around here." Then she turned and walked away. I stood there, surprised. Max barked once, and I swear she heard it from across the street, because she spun around and gave me that steel-melting glare again. That's how it started. From then on, Karen was on my case every single day. If I mowed my lawn, she'd say I did it wrong. If I parked my truck in front of my house, she'd say it wasn't allowed. If Max barked at a squirrel, she'd yell about it. She had rules for everything, and she loved telling me I was breaking them. I tried to be nice. I'd wave and say, "Good morning," but she'd just huff and walk away. It was like she wanted me gone. I started to wonder, why was she so mad all the time? Did she hate everyone, or was it just me? But here, where it gets good, I'm not the kind of guy who gives up easy. I might look young and I might seem quiet, but I'm smart. I pay attention. And that smart alarm I told you about, it wasn't just some loud toy. It was high-tech, with cameras and sensors that could catch things I couldn't even see. I didn't know it yet, but that alarm was going to change everything. Karen thought she could scare me or boss me around, but she didn't know what was coming. She didn't know that her own big plans were about to fall apart, and I'd be the one holding the pieces. So let's stop here for a second. I've got a question for you. Have you ever had a neighbor like Karen? Someone who thinks they're the king or queen of the whole block? Maybe they tell you what to do, or maybe they just watch you all the time. Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear your stories. For me, this was just the beginning. Karen thought she had all the power, but this sunny little neighborhood was about to get a big surprise. Stick with me, because this tale is about to get wild. See, I wasn't looking for trouble when I moved to Oakwood Hills. I just wanted a nice place to live with my dog and my stuff. I thought a smart alarm would keep me safe from robbers or whatever. I didn't expect it to turn into a weapon against the HOA queen herself. Karen had her clipboard, her rules, and her mean looks, but I had something better: patience and a plan I didn't even know I'd need yet. She thought she was winning every time she yelled at me, but I was watching, waiting, and letting her dig her own hole. The sun kept shining that afternoon, and I kept unpacking my boxes. Max ran around the yard, chasing butterflies, while Karen stood on her porch, staring at me. I didn't know it then, but that day was the start of something huge. A battle was brewing, one she'd never see coming. She thought I was just some annoying kid with a noisy dog, but I was about to show her that even the smallest guy can have the biggest surprises. Ready to find out what happened next? Hang on tight, this story's just getting started. Okay, let's get into the juicy part of the story. From the very first day I moved into Oakwood Hills, Karen was all over me like a hawk watching a tiny mouse. She didn't miss a thing. If I did anything, even the smallest thing, she'd find a way to complain. One time, she marched over and yelled, "Your grass is half an inch too long." I looked at my lawn and it seemed fine to me, but not to her. Another day, she pointed at my mailbox and barked, "That mailbox isn't regulation blue." I didn't even know what regulation blue meant, but Karen sure did. She had rules for everything, and she loved telling me I was breaking them. I tried to stay nice about it. When she'd yell, I'd just smile and wave like it didn't bother me. I didn't want to fight with her. I wanted to keep my cool and enjoy my new house, but deep down it was starting to get annoying. Karen was like a big, loud storm cloud that wouldn't go away. She'd stand on her porch staring at me with those mean eyes, and I'd feel like I couldn't do anything right. Still, I kept quiet. I didn't want trouble. But then something happened that changed everything. My smart alarm came into the picture. Let me tell you about this alarm. It's not just any old alarm. It's super fancy. It's got these cool things called motion sensors, which means it knows when something moves near my house. It also has a loud siren that can wake up the whole neighborhood if it needs to. I thought it was awesome. It made me feel safe, like no one could sneak in and cause problems. But one night, my little dog Max, remember him, accidentally set it off. He was running around the yard, chasing a bug or something, and he tripped the sensor. The alarm went whoop whoop whoop. It was so loud. I ran outside super fast and turned it off in like 10 seconds. No big deal, right? I mean, it was just a little noise for a tiny moment. I figured everyone would forget about it. Oh, I was so wrong. The next morning, Karen came stomping over to my house like a volcano ready to explode. Her face was all red and her eyes were big and angry. She was waving her phone in the air like it was a weapon. "What was that racket last night?" she shouted. "That stupid alarm woke me up. I'm calling the cops next time it happens." Her voice was loud and sharp, like she wanted the whole street to hear her. I just stood there, surprised. I didn't know what to say. I shrugged my shoulders and said, "Sorry, it was an accident." But she didn't care. She huffed, turned around, and stormed back to her house, muttering about how awful I was. I tried to act like it didn't bug me. I smiled and went back inside, pretending everything was fine. But inside my head I was starting to wonder, why was she so mad about a little noise? It wasn't like the alarm went off for hours, it was just a few seconds. Most people would grumble a little and go back to sleep, right? But not Karen. She acted like I'd ruined her whole life. It didn't make sense. I started to think maybe there was more going on with her. Maybe she wasn't just a grumpy neighbor. Maybe she had something to hide, something big. See, Karen wasn't just mad about the alarm. She was mad about me. Every day she found something new to complain about. If my trash cans were out too early, she'd yell. If Max barked at a bird, she'd glare. If I waved at her too nicely, she'd frown like I'd done something wrong. It was like she wanted me to leave the neighborhood forever, but I wasn't going anywhere. This was my home now, and I liked it well, except for Karen. The more she picked on me, the more I started to pay attention. I didn't fight back yet, but I was watching her, wondering what her deal was. That alarm incident was the tipping point. After she threatened to call the cops, I couldn't shake this funny feeling. Why was she so worked up? Normal people don't flip out like that over 10 seconds of noise. I mean, sure, it was loud, but it wasn't the end of the world. I started to think maybe Karen had a secret. Maybe she was nervous about something and my alarm was making her jumpy. Little did she know she was right to be worried, not because I was trying to get her, but because her own sneaky ways were about to get caught. I didn't say anything to her after that morning. I kept my head down and went about my day, but I was curious now. That smart alarm wasn't just a loud toy, it was smart for a reason. It had cameras and stuff I hadn't even played with yet. I didn't know it then, but those cameras were going to catch something wild. Karen thought she could scare me with her big threats and her angry face, but she didn't know her own secrets were about to trip an alarm of their own. She was picking a fight with the wrong guy, and things were about to get messy. So there I was, stuck in this tug-of-war with Karen. She kept pushing me and I kept staying calm, at least on the outside. But the tension was growing, like a rubber band stretching tighter and tighter. I could feel it. Something big was coming, even if I didn't know what it was yet. Karen thought she had all the power with her clipboard and her rules, but she didn't see the storm brewing right under her nose. My alarm wasn't just a noise maker. It was about to turn into her worst nightmare. Stick around, because this is where the fun really starts. Days went by after that big alarm mess, and Karen didn't let up, not even a little. She watched me all the time, like an eagle hunting for something to grab. I'd look out my window and there she was, peeking through her curtains across the street. Her eyes were sharp and sneaky. She'd pull out her big clipboard and scribble notes like I was some kind of super bad guy in a movie. I wasn't doing anything wrong, just living my life with my dog Max, but to Karen, I was trouble. She acted like I was the biggest problem in Oakwood Hills, and she wasn't going to stop until she proved it. While Karen was busy spying on me, something cool was happening with my smart alarm. You remember that fancy gadget I told you about? It wasn't just loud, it was smart too. It had this awesome feature I didn't even know much about at first, a tiny camera that recorded stuff when it sensed movement. I thought it was only catching Max when he'd run around the yard at night, chasing shadows or barking at the moon. Max loves his late-night zoomies. He'd zip around like a little rocket, and I'd laugh from inside. But the alarm was picking up more than just my silly dog. It was catching something way weirder. One night I was fast asleep when my phone buzzed. It was an alert from the alarm. I rubbed my eyes, grabbed my phone, and checked it. The app showed me a video from the camera. I couldn't believe what I saw. It was Karen, yep, that Karen, sneaking around my yard at 2 a.m. The clock on the video said it was the middle of the night, when everyone should be sleeping. But there she was, creeping around in the dark, poking at my trash cans with a stick. She looked sneaky, like she didn't want anyone to see her. I sat up in bed, staring at my phone. What was she doing? Why was she messing with my trash? It was so weird. I didn't run outside or yell at her right then. I was too surprised, and it was way too late at night. Plus, I didn't want her to know I'd caught her, not yet, so I just watched the video again. Karen was wearing her usual big coat, and her hair was all messy, like she'd just rolled out of bed. She kept looking around, checking to see if anyone was awake. She didn't know my alarm was watching her every move. I saved that video on my phone and went back to sleep, but my brain was buzzing. Why was she snooping? What was she looking for? The next morning, I woke up and found something on my front door, a note. It was from Karen, of course. The paper was crumpled and her handwriting was big and angry. It said, "Keep that alarm quiet or else." The word "else" was underlined 3 times, like she really meant it. I stood there, holding the note, and scratched my head. She was mad about the alarm again, but now I knew she was up to something sneaky. That note didn't scare me, it made me curious. What was she so afraid of? Why did my alarm bug her so much? I stuck the note in my pocket and decided to keep my eyes open. From then on, I started paying more attention to Karen. She didn't know I had that video and I wasn't going to tell her yet. I acted normal, like nothing was up. I'd wave at her when I saw her and she'd glare back, her face all scrunched up like she'd eaten a sour lemon. Every time she looked at me, it felt like she was daring me to catch her, like she wanted me to figure out her game. Her glares were mean and her threats were loud, but now I had a secret of my own. That alarm wasn't just a noisemaker, it was a spy, and it was starting to show me who Karen really was. Days kept passing, and Karen kept being her grumpy self. She'd yell at me about little things, like if my grass wasn't perfect or if Max barked too loud. But I wasn't just smiling and waving anymore, I was watching her too. I checked my alarm app every day to see if it caught anything else. Sometimes it was just Max running around, but I kept hoping I'd see more of Karen's sneaky moves. I didn't know what she was hiding, but I could feel it. Something big was going on. She was so jumpy, so mad, and it didn't add up. Why would a loud alarm make her this upset unless she had something to hide? I started to wonder all kinds of things. Was she looking for something in my trash? Was she trying to scare me away? Or was she doing something bad that she didn't want anyone to know about? Every time she glared at me, I got more curious. Every time she left a nasty note or shouted across the street, I thought, "What's your secret, Karen?" She didn't know it, but she was giving me clues. Her big, loud anger was like a sign pointing to something she didn't want me to find. I wasn't sure what it was yet, but I knew I had to keep watching. The tension was building up, like when you blow air into a balloon and it gets bigger and bigger. Karen thought she was in control, watching me like a hawk and writing her little notes. But my smart alarm was watching her back and it was catching stuff she didn't expect. I didn't confront her. I didn't say, "Hey, I saw you in my yard." I kept quiet, letting her think she was winning. But inside, I was ready for whatever came next. She was daring me to catch her, and I was getting closer every day. Something wild was about to happen, and I couldn't wait to see what it was. It was a quiet Saturday in Oakwood Hills. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and everything seemed calm. Jake was inside his house playing with his dog Max when beep beep beep, his smart alarm started going crazy. It was loud, really loud, like a fire truck blasting its horn. Jake jumped up, surprised. He ran to the window to see what was happening, and there she was, Karen, the HOA lady who hated him. She wasn't sneaking this time. Nope, she was standing right in his yard, hands on her hips, looking proud. She had tripped the alarm on purpose. "See," Karen shouted, pointing at the house. "I told you this thing is a nuisance. It's too loud, it's dangerous." Her voice was sharp, like a teacher scolding a kid. Jake peeked out from his porch, rubbing his eyes. He couldn't believe it. Karen had gone too far this time. Before he could even walk outside to talk to her, she pulled her phone out of her pocket. She tapped the screen fast, like she was in a big hurry, and then held it to her ear. "Hello 911, she said, her voice loud and bossy. "There's a dangerous alarm going off at my neighbor's house. It's scaring everyone. Send help now." Jake stood there on his porch watching her. He didn't yell back. He didn't even look mad. Instead, a little smile crept onto his face. He was trying so hard not to laugh. Karen thought she was so smart, calling the police like that. She thought she'd finally get Jake in trouble. She thought she'd win. Oh boy, was she wrong. Jake knew something she didn't, and he couldn't wait for her to find out. A few minutes passed, maybe 5 or 6, and then they heard it. Wee-oh, wee-oh. Sirens, police sirens. They were getting closer and closer. Jake leaned against his porch railing, still smiling. Karen turned around, fixing her hair like she was about to be on TV. She smirked at Jake, her eyes saying, "Ha, you're done for." 2 police cars zoomed up the street and stopped right in front of Jake's house. The lights on top were flashing red and blue, and the neighbors started peeking out their windows to see what was going on. Karen crossed her arms, looking smug. She was so sure the cops were there to yell at Jake about his alarm. She even took a step forward, ready to tell them her big story about how awful Jake was. But then something weird happened. The first police officer got out of the car. He was tall, with a shiny badge on his uniform. He didn't even look at Karen. Nope, he walked right past her, his boots clomping on the ground, and headed straight for Jake. "Hey man," the cop said, sticking out his hand. Jake shook it like they were old buddies. "Good to see you," the cop went on. "Your system flagged her again. We've got enough footage now." Karen's mouth fell open, like wide open, so you could see all her teeth. "Footage," she squeaked. "What footage? What are you talking about?" Her voice wasn't bossy anymore. It was shaky, like she was confused and maybe a little scared. She looked at the cop, then at Jake, then back at the cop. Her eyes were big, darting around like a squirrel caught in the yard. Jake turned to her, still calm as could be. He wasn't shouting or pointing fingers. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, and said, "Oh, did I mention I work with the police?" He paused, letting that sink in. Karen blinked fast, like her brain was trying to catch up. Jake kept going. "That annoying alarm you hate so much, it's not just an alarm. It's got cameras, tiny ones you can't even see. It's been recording you every time you sneak into my yard, for weeks." Karen's face went white like she'd seen a ghost. Her hands dropped to her sides and she took a step back. "Weeks," she stammered. "Recording me, that's not allowed." She was trying to sound mad again, but it wasn't working. She sounded more like a kid who got caught stealing cookies. Jake tilted his head and smiled a little more. "Oh, it's allowed," he said. "It's my yard, my house, my rules, and guess what else?" He pointed at the police cars behind her. "The cops didn't come here for me, they came for you." The second police officer stepped forward now. He was holding a little tablet, like an iPad, and he tapped the screen. "Ma'am," he said to Karen, "we've got videos, lots of them. You sneaking around at night with a flashlight, you banging on his door, you even trying to mess with his trash cans. It's all here." He turned the tablet so she could see. There she was on the screen, creeping through Jake's yard like a ninja who wasn't very good at sneaking. Karen's cheeks turned red, bright red, like a tomato. But I'm the HOA president," she yelled. "I'm in charge here. I was just making sure everything was safe." Her voice was loud again, but it didn't sound strong. It sounded desperate, like she was begging them to believe her. The first cop shook his head. "Doesn't matter," he said. "You've been trespassing. That's against the law, and we've got proof." He looked at Jake. "You ready to press charges?" Jake nodded. "Yep," he said simply. I've got all the footage saved, every single time she came by. Karen started waving her hands in the air. Wait, she cried. This is a mistake. I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted him to follow the rules. But the cops weren't listening anymore. The second officer pulled out a pair of shiny handcuffs. Ma'am, you need to come with us, he said. We'll sort this out at the station. Karen froze. Her eyes got even bigger, if that was possible. Handcuffs, she whispered. For me. She looked at Jake like maybe he'd say it was all a joke, but Jake just shrugged. You called them, he said, not me. The neighbors were all watching now. Curtains were open and people were leaning out their doors. Some of them were smiling like they'd been waiting for this day. Karen had been bossing everyone around for years, telling them their flowers were too tall or their cars were parked wrong. And now she was the one in trouble. The first cop took Karen's arm gently and started walking her to the car. She didn't fight, but she kept talking. This isn't fair, she said. I'm a good person. I keep this neighborhood perfect. The cop didn't answer. He just opened the car door and helped her sit inside. Jake watched it all from his porch, Max sitting next to him. The alarm wasn't beeping anymore. It was quiet again. The big twist was over and Karen's smug little game had blown up in her face. She thought she could scare Jake. She thought she could control him. But Jake had been one step ahead the whole time. His secret, he wasn't just a quiet guy with a dog. He was a tech genius who worked with the police, and his smart alarm was the star of the show. Karen's head slumped as the police car door shut. She'd called 911 to get Jake in trouble, but she'd only gotten herself caught. The sirens started up again, wee-oh, wee-oo, and the cars rolled away, taking her down the street and out of sight. Jake gave Max a pat on the head. Good boy, he said softly. The big reveal was done and the truth was out. Karen messed with the wrong guy and she'd never forget it. Karen stood in Jake's yard, her face as red as a ripe apple. The police officers weren't smiling. They were serious, holding a little tablet that showed everything. One of them, a tall man with a shiny badge, looked at her and said, "Ma'am, we've had people complaining about you for months. You've been bothering neighbors, sneaking around, and causing trouble. This footage proves it." He turned the tablet so Karen could see the screen. There she was, clear as day, creeping through Jake's yard at night with a flashlight. Another clip showed her banging on his door, yelling about his alarm. There were even videos of her snooping around other neighbors' houses, pointing at their flowers or shaking her head at their mailboxes. Karen's eyes got wide, like she couldn't believe it. She opened her mouth to talk, but her words came out all jumbled. But I'm the HOA president," she finally shouted, waving her hands in the air. "I make the rules. I keep this neighborhood